heard the bell. It means our networking time and our lunch time is coming to a close, and we are going to transition into our next panel. Now that you guys are all full of delicious food and have a full stomach and are ready for a nap, let's listen to some people talk, right? But I promise you are going to be very engaged by this panel. Part of what we wanted to do by inviting up Michaela, Andrew, and Steve is give you guys some real life businesses and some real life opportunities that they have taken advantage of and they have seen success with in their individual businesses, whether they own those businesses or they are a part of them as an employee. And so I am super happy to introduce them to you. If they can start making their way up here and each find a seat in one of these cushy chairs. Again, we are going to structure this the same way that we structured our first panel. So we have some pre-prepared questions for them, and then they will introduce themselves, talk about the roles that they play in their individual businesses, and we will go through those questions, and then we will give you guys an opportunity to ask them questions as well. Same format. If you have a question during the presentation, keep it in your head. We will ask that you raise your hand at the end, and we will have somebody coming around with a microphone so that you can ask that question aloud for the edification of the group. So as we are all settling in now, I would like to introduce Michaela, if you will wave, please, and Andrew and Steve. I would also like to take this opportunity to give a shout out to our other panel sponsors. So those sponsors are Nebraska Rural Electric and Nebraska Enterprise Fund. So again, it's because of sponsors like that that we are able to bring these experts in, these business owners in to talk with you, that we are able to have all these tables, have that delicious food, and particularly thank you to these sponsors for sponsoring this panel. So I am going to let you guys take it away in just a second. So if you could please introduce yourself and introduce your business and describe what it is that you do, that would be great. I think that we will start with Michaela.
Hi, everybody. Oops, sorry.
Yep, you should each have a mic in your chair. Perfect.
Not used to this. My name is Michaela Kinkle, and I host a food blog. I've been doing that for over 10 years, and I have my own recipes. I do a lot of family recipes, and then I also do recipe development for different companies, and a lot of them are Grow Nebraska people, one of them being Dorothy Lynch.
Great. Thanks, Michaela. Andrew?
Hi, my name is Andrew Verbis, a co-founder of a business called Pacha Soap Company. We're based in Hastings, Nebraska, and we make soap and other personal care products and sell across the U.S. and Canadian markets. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Steve?
And hello. Boy, my name is Steve Peterson. I'm National Sales Manager for Tasty Toppings. We produce a product called Dorothy Lynch. I don't know if you've heard of it before in this area or not, but it's grown over the years, and we're in 27 states with it right now, so it keeps us going. And again, we started in Nebraska. We're a local business.
Great, thank you. And now could you share for me how many people are a part of your marketing team? How big is it? And what constitutes that team for you? Michaela?
Right now I have 11 people that are working with me. They're all part-time. They're all over the country. I have people that are virtual assistants that do a lot of help with social media. We all love social media, right? And I have some people that do back-end work on my blog. I have people that help me with updating posts. I've got people that help me with writing, some photography, doing SEO, like just kind of keeping everything fresh and keeping Google happy. So.
Perfect. And Andrew?
Yeah, we have.
No, you're on. They're just muting when we're not actively speaking, so you're good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have about 10 people on our digital marketing team, and based in different parts of the United States, and they manage everything from our social media platforms, various channels that we sell digitally, obviously, yeah, SEO, Google, and content creation as well.
Perfect. And Steve? Yep, you're on.
Our digital, there it goes. Our digital marketing, or the help that we have, primarily we're a small company, so a lot of the ideas and things start with me, and I really rely on Grow Nebraska to help out, and use a company called Swanson Russell Advertising in Lincoln. They help with managing the website and helping reach out to potential customers and new customers, and maintain our current customer base. So we're still pretty small compared to a lot of companies.
Yeah, and so next, could you share with me, and we'll start with you, Steve, what are some of the main forms of digital marketing that you use, and how, if you have pivoted your strategy online, how did you pivot? Or a lot of you I know have been online from the beginning, so just how do you use those digital platforms?
Well, with consumer packaged goods that we sell, we kind of use a combination. We transitioned from the print media, the old grocery store days has changed over the years, where you've got print media, just the print, the ads, the promotions, and then we've transitioned more into more of the Facebook and the Pinterest. And, as you know, with the Facebook, it helps provide an identity online and a way to target customers, but we've put more emphasis on that. And again, with Pinterest, we've used Pinterest a lot. With our situation, it helps people look at ways to have recipes and make new products and different ways to use our products. So we just don't want to have it tied in with just strictly a salad dressing. With the aid of the company, if you go to our website, it's more of barbecue and marinades. We're trying to get away from just using Dorothy Lynch just for a salad dressing. We want to use it for multiple uses, use it like a ketchup for dipping sauce and different things like that. So there's a lot of, we've grown into that using the digital media, because it isn't very important to be there, because your competitors are there. And everybody, if you've got kids or different age, that next generation of shoppers, they all have their phones. And that's how they receive information. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Yeah, and you work with a variety of food bloggers and recipe creators like Michaela, right?
Yes, we have another way just to reach people through Pinterest. We've got a blogger over here, and herself, and I believe 4 others around the Midwest, that they develop quite a following, and it reaches people. When you have a blogger and an influencer, then it helps people, or click on your recipe, and then they ask for explanations and help, and it just brings, again, a new way to use your product. So the bloggers have been very, very important to what we're doing and growing our customers, because you just can't go to market. Our item is a mature product, and you just can't go to market with just the way we've always done things. You have to be able to be fluid and shift and try different things to reach new people.
Yeah, so Michaela, could you talk a little bit about the platforms that you use?
Yes, well, I have always been online. I don't really have a product that I sell like many of you guys do. It's more of a service that I have. And when people come to my website, they're actually getting something for free, which, is kind of cool for all of them. But when it comes to like food blogging, the way I think about it is, I thought a lot about it when David was talking about the billboards. It's kind of like that, or seeing an ad over and over and over again on your television. You can't go up and you can't click on it and order it right then and there, but it gets stashed in the back of your mind, and you will see it, and you're like, maybe you'll see it in the grocery store, and you'll say, hey, I remember seeing that recipe, or whatever. So there's, Dorothy Lynch is, pretty local. We all know what Dorothy Lynch is, but not everybody across the country does. But they're able to, order it online, and it's a great way for people to, try it other places, and hopefully that will expand Dorothy Lynch across the country, maybe someday, hopefully, maybe? Yeah,
like I said, the core states are the Dakotas, Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas, the Midwest, but the secondary markets is where we're able to use digital marketing. I work with a lot of grocery chains, be it Kroger, Albertsons, Safeway, HEB, different companies around the country, that the way they're reaching new customers is the digital marketing. So, you're just trying different ways to reach them, and the digital is a growing thing. Like I said, we transitioned from the print media to the digital, and we'll still have to continue print because our customer base is typically a mature customer base, but we have to become relevant and try to capture those next generation of shoppers.
Yeah, thank you. And Andrew, can you share what digital platforms you use at Pacha?
Yeah, well, I'll preface it by saying I'm not a digital marketer. That's not my background, so I won't do our strategy justice, I would say, from our digital marketing team. But we use, social media platforms allow us to create a sales funnel, basically, and reach more reach more people through our content. Email obviously is big for us, email marketing, and Google SEO. We try to drive acquisitions, and this is a little bit counterintuitive, but prior to COVID, we were probably 3% of our total revenue of our business was digital. Most of it was brick and mortar. COVID obviously accelerated that to the point where, it's about 25% of our overall revenue now. But what's a little bit counterintuitive is most businesses, I'll just say, I know some consumer goods companies like us are flipped. They're maybe 90% digital and 10% brick and mortar. But the cost of acquisition for brick and mortar for us has been a lot cheaper than the digital acquisition, especially now as it's gotten more expensive. So we actually use brick and mortar as a place for discovery and send people digitally where our margins are a little bit better once we get that customer in the loop. So we use our brick and mortar distribution, and we're in all 50 states to drive to our website, which is a little bit counterintuitive. Sometimes this goes the other way around, but we've seen the ROI be a lot better for our brick and mortar sales.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
I guess I had one other thing to add with the Grow Nebraska. They filled a need for the digital online business. We typically, up to that point, didn't have people in place, and to be honest with you, I didn't want to hassle of having to hire somebody and set it up. They were already in business doing it, and they've done quite well helping our exposure. We do ship product to 50 states, and from time to time, I bother the gals to give me a printout of just how many states and how many cases go around the country, and it's really amazing. But with their aid and their help of growing our sales, that they've helped us reach in areas where we don't have product inside the brick and mortar stores. So, and with our product, we've got a lot of transitional people. For like example, we'll do a lot of business with Fry's and Smith's out in Arizona during the winter months, and the summer hits and all the snowbirds move back, and then we kind of die on the shelf for a little while until the summer gets over with. And that's when we turn up the heat on the digital marketing. I'll offer deeper discounts with that digital marketing, because that next generation of shoppers in my world, they use the phone and they shop with the phone, and it's got all the different, Dave talked about all the different ways of things are linked in and how they're buying products. And that's just key, is being there and working to be relevant and getting on their shopping list when they're using their phones.
Yeah, thank you. And Andrew, you mentioned that there was a little bit of a change during the pandemic, which is something I wanted to ask all of you, is with the pandemic, did that change your online marketing strategy at all? Did it change your product at all? Michaela, could you start with just talking about some of the changes you made with the pandemic?
Well, I don't know about all of you, but I'm sure that we all struggled with trying to find certain things, other than toilet paper in the grocery stores. And so I kind of pivoted when it came to what I shared. And I tried to share things with fewer ingredients, or if you went to a grocery store and you couldn't find Bisquick, I showed you how to make your own. It was those types of things like I shared a lot of comfort food. Everybody wanted to make bread. I think everybody had a sourdough starter last year. So it was, a lot of bread baking, a lot of making your own noodles, all that kinds of stuff. So comfort foods and Cocktails were big last year. My Dirty Martini was one of my #1 posts last year. So, things like that. Copycat recipes for restaurants, because people couldn't go to them. So they wanted to be able to do that kind of thing at home. And so pretty much that just tried to make sure that they could make the things at home that they enjoyed when they used to be able to go out all the time. So that's...
Thank you. And Andrew, I'm sure soap was a need last year. Can you talk a little bit how things changed for you? I know we also sold a hand sanitizer for you guys.
Yeah, for us, because we were primarily brick and mortar, because that was where we were finding the highest ROI for our business, we didn't necessarily have the correct leadership to pivot to where we were getting a lot more sales, a lot more traffic to our website. And so the first thing we did is just bring on a more seasoned digital marketing team that had experience in that realm and in our channel. And that really helped us because, I'm all about just finding the DNA. There's some things I'm an expert at, but most things I'm not. And so we found a team of people that's what they do, is digital marketing in and out, especially in our industry. So that's one of the biggest things we did, is just pivot and find the right talent that understood this channel and can develop strategies to acquire new customers profitably.
Yeah, and Steve, did anything change for you?
What we noticed was, of course, we have a retail side of it and then a food service side of it. And the food service side slowed down naturally because the restaurants were locked down. So we had put a little more emphasis on, what our information is on our websites. And David mentioned something that we've been doing for geo-targeting. And so if you go to our website, you click in your zip code, it tells you what grocery stores are in your market. And then what we've done is with the geo-marketing is I gave our promotional planners to the Grow people and the Swanson Russell people, and between the two of them, they would let people know on Facebook that Dorothy Lynch is on promotion, on sale at the store. And so we hit stores in certain markets within a 25-mile radius of the store. So the geo-targeting was effective, something maybe we haven't done as much before, but you still got to drive sales, because even with the pandemic, the cost of doing business doesn't go down. It still costs you money. So you have to look for other sources for revenue to keep that income side going. And again, just put a little more emphasis on the blogger partnerships, the relationships, their influencers. They've got, I don't know how many followers you have, but you've got thousands of followers that what she says goes, and they use what they want and they follow her. And just the coordination, again, making coordination with the Grow people here with help in selling our product online, putting a little more emphasis on that. And we're able to grow the impressions and the clicks and the saves over a period of time.
Yeah, that's great. So everybody was spending more time on social media last year. Can you share a little bit about how specifically your social media strategy changed? Andrew, would you talk a little bit about that for Pacha?
Yeah, so for us, I know our team really moved towards more influencers, but organic influencers to get user-generated content. That was big for us because we had, a decent following, but they really focused on good content to get the right people to follow our channels. And they got into things like TikTok, which I had to delete that app because it was just too addicting. I wasn't going to sleep. It's bad. But they're just putting out really good content. And when people were stuck at home, I think for us, we wanted to give them an insight into soap. So if you go to our social channels, it's kind of addicting watching soap being made or poured. And so some of our, content that was doing the best was kind of the inside look of a soap factory, which we call our olfactory, for those of you that get the pun. And it was great. So I think they focused a lot on content and partnering with influencers in the right way, and then giveaways as well with other like-minded brands. That was a big way to get new followers. Everybody likes something for free. I'd say the other thing that we did was really lean heavily on our partners that manage ads. So we use certain advertising agencies that help us deploy spending, and they have teams typically to understand how algorithms can change and how things can morph and pivot. And so we leaned heavily on them to advise us on where to go. But just truthfully, it can be a black hole. You can really put a lot of dollars in a bucket and not really get anything for it. So I think we just got more shrewd on where things go. And I'm just a firm believer in first you have to have a good product and good content, and then it's just about getting it out from there. But that's how our team worked on our social channels.
Thanks. How about you, Michaela, with An Affair from the Heart?
I tried to engage people more instead of just, throwing a recipe up on Facebook and just, hoping somebody says, hey, that looks good, or yum, or whatever. I would ask questions and I'd try to get them engaged in talking about different things. I shared a lot of things that were humorous because I thought we all needed a good laugh, and, just kept trying to keep things fresh, and, it just was more about finding some little bit of happiness in a lot of dark, what it kind of seemed like. So, and we all spent way more time on social media because we didn't have anything else to do. So I always kind of thought, well, if I'm gonna be part of what they're seeing, I want it to be a positive experience. So.
Yeah, that's great. How about you, Steve?
I think like I said, I'm not an expert in the digital media. I know enough to be dangerous, but I really relied on the experts to help out. And I'd get monthly reports of followers, clicks, saves, and to see what things we could do. And just it doesn't hurt to get aggressive out there and to get for us it's about building new customers and reaching more people. So it's just getting a little more aggressive, and I relied on the experts, and gave me some direction during that time.
Yeah, and I loved what each of you have said too about the focus on the customer that happened during the pandemic too, of, people are liking the soap pours, people are liking that sort of relaxing content in what was a stressful time for a lot of people, or catering recipes that are comfort foods that are, alcoholic drinks or whatever. So just also something that we heard from our first panel. So I just wanted to emphasize that as a really common theme, because I think that that's a good lesson for all of us to take with us. So when you're making content online, even if it's not specifically during the pandemic, but Michaela, how do you make sure that the content you have online is both effective and profitable?
Well, I mean, I have over 1,000 recipes on my website, so, I have a ton of content, so I'm constantly refreshing. I've actually spent like the last 2 years just taking some of my really old things and making them new again and resharing them, updating all the posts for SEO, updating all the photographs and things like that, striving to be on page 1 of Google where we all want to be. That's a big thing. I used to go to tons of conferences. This is my first one in a long time. Just try to continue to educate myself and to make sure that I know, what's going on and what I should be doing to make sure that when I work for a client that they get the most out of the money that they're spending. Just basically keeping everything fresh and relevant. New pins on Pinterest, just like adding videos to recipes that maybe didn't have one before, so it's a different way to share it on social media. Some people like videos, some people like photos. It just, try to make it so what one person may not like, they might like this somebody else, they might like it for a different reason if they see it in a video versus a photo. Mm-hmm. Just keeping it fresh.
Yeah, thank you. How about you, Andrew?
Could you repeat the question again?
Yes. So the question was, how do you make sure that the content that you have online is effective for you and profitable for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like content online or in person is just a conversation, right? So chances are if you're someone who's having a conversation with somebody and they're not interested, but you're really into it, like it's the same type of thing digitally. It's just the feedback, and typically that's either through views or some sort of comment or share. So for us, it's just about like a little bit of listening, just in the same way that you'd have a conversation with somebody. So we run reports and analytics to see what does well, and then the question of why. Why does it do well? Why is it engaging to certain consumer demographics? Maybe it's not to others. So I think that's how we make decisions on our content, is what is responding well. And it's a little bit of chicken or egg, because sometimes somebody will have an idea that, and honestly, sometimes it's just completely out of the blue. Like we have a piece of content that we never imagined would do well, and it gets, 250,000 views. Like you don't know really what's going to take off, but I think you just really watch data and understand what your consumer is looking for. And I don't think it's more complicated than that. And then the investment decision just comes on what's the conversion rate. So whatever, if you're selling a service or product, how do you make sure that your sales funnel is producing at a certain percentage of return, and then investing according to that return.
Yeah. And Steve?
Some of ours is a little bit harder to track, just because of the sheer volume of what goes on, but we'd, just tracking the impressions, awareness, and shares are anywhere from 190 to over 460% increase. So again, I relied on the tech people to advise and show me the movement of. We do that every month, is just monitor the activity on the site and see what interests there are between the Facebook and the Pinterest. So that was really just monitoring it and keeping it fresh and relevant to that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, in looking at the changes that you made during the pandemic, what changes or adjustments are things that you think you'll take with you into the future? Michaela?
I think just the way that I kind of started wording things, and trying to get people engaged in something that you post, asking questions and seeing what kind of feedback you get. And, going back and looking at the content that you've shared and seeing, what did good and what didn't do so good and how could I have made that a little bit different. So I think just my readers really got talking on social media last year, and I think that that was just kind of the way that it worked when you start asking people questions and getting their input and figuring out what they want versus what you just want to share with them. I've just been trying to continue to do that. So it's really built my social media. My following has grown tremendously in the last 18 months or so. So hopefully they all just continue to stick with me, and so we'll just keep doing what we're doing.
Great. And Andrew?
There's something that worked for us, and it's in a constant state of flux, but it's just customer acquisition, and we look at ratios to see how much should we invest for a customer. It's a really interesting way of looking at things, but I'm a profile, I'm sure, for steel chainsaws because I look at steel chainsaws, or at least I did, and they know, they assign a dollar value to me, and they know if they get in front of me X number of times, the probability that I might buy something from them. So there's a dollar sign above my head for steel chainsaws, and so I think there's a way of doing that in an extractive way where we treat people like dollar signs, or there's a way of engaging with it and adding value to people because you're providing something relevant. I'm actually okay with steel targeting me because I care about the chainsaws and the quality, and so it's the goal of trying to find consumers for your products that actually do care. And again, that's the conversation piece. How do I know that someone cares? Well, are they really responding well to it? So it's paying attention. I think the thing that we'll take with us is really staying in a state of conversation, which is more back and forth versus just forward. It's listening as much as it is talking. So I think our team puts out like polls and various things like that to engage with people and get feedback, and that's something we'll take with us.
Yeah, and Steve?
I guess changes for the future, being in the grocery business, things are kind of transferring from the print media to more of the digital. And the people's shopping habits have changed. If you go in grocery stores and look, you'll see a lot of curbside service. Even the Walmart here in town, they'll probably got 40-some checkouts, and probably 35 of them are self-checkouts. And so what they're doing with that extra labor is taking it in the back of the store and picking orders for people, and then they bring them out to their cars. So our concern is that less foot traffic in the store, they're not seeing displays, and so that's why it's important that we'll continue to move more funds into the digital marketing, just because there's a period of time where people got comfortable during the pandemic of shopping that way, and a lot of these people stuck with that type of shopping. And so you'll see that in a lot of grocery store parking lots. I get all over the country, and everybody's doing the same thing where they've got a lot of parking stalls. They come up, text a number, they bring out your groceries to you, and they're not coming inside the store. So I guess from our view, we need to be more relevant and continue to push more in the digital, and being there on that shopping list with the different grocery chains. They've got their orders and what they've ordered before in the phone, and then when they go to that our salad dressing category or pourable dressing category, you want to make sure that our name gets pulled up there in that category when they're shopping. So really, the people's shopping patterns have changed. So the bang on the buck of the print media is probably going down a little bit, and more of the relevant of the digital media. And it just sums up with everything we've been talking about today, is just being relevant and having a position in that arena. So keeping that in mind, that's the direction we'll go, is put more emphasis in the digital. And the markdowns, the companies have got programs where you can put, if they inquire about your product, they'll charge you so much a click. And then you can set aside a budget, say, I'm going to put $1,000 in this account, and when it's gone, it's gone. So you don't blow your account out of water or anything like that. So there's just being there with the people's shopping patterns changing. It's just that much more important to be relevant. And be in their phones.
Yeah, thank you. And that's specifically for this audience. What is a strategy that you have utilized that you think that this could be something that other businesses could utilize successfully as well? Steve, could you answer that first?
I'd say contact and partner with an expert. I think we heard some visits about contacting somebody that lives and breathes this type of business and rely on them to help you out. You know, you want to put your best foot forward, especially if you don't do a good job on your website or contacting. You could have some bad reviews, and a lot of people make decisions on reviews that are with the different categories. So I'd really recommend them partnering up with Grow Nebraska, or else finding a local company that you're comfortable working with and really utilizing their skill, because I'm not an expert in that category. I've learned over a period of time, but really find somebody that knows what's going on and spend the money with them, and you'll see the benefits on the backside of it.
And Michaela?
I guess when you and I talked about this, I wanted to narrow it down to some kind of a tidbit that I could share with you guys. And a tool that I love is called Keywords Everywhere. It's an extension. It's on Chrome and I think Firefox, but I use it on Google Chrome. And it's super cheap. You basically, if you it's showing that you put peanut butter cookies in there, and you can click on the Keywords Everywhere tab, and it will tell you what people are ranking for keywords. And when you go in and you're making your stuff fresh, you want to go ahead and add those keywords to your post, and that will, when Google crawls your site, it's going to see those things that people are searching for. And it even will show you different questions that they ask, like, how do you make peanut butter cookies? Why do peanut butter cookies always have that X mark, that you do with the fork on it? Why do you want to make sure that you're putting that kind of content into what you're putting online, so when Google sees that, when people ask those questions, it keeps pulling you closer and closer to page one. So that would be probably my tidbit to share with you guys. It's a great tool. It's super easy to use, and it's really cheap. So.
Yeah, thanks. Write that down. What was it again? Say it one more time.
It's called Keywords Everywhere.
Perfect. Thank you. And Andrew, can you share for Pacha?
Yeah, I mean, lean on your partner if you have one. It just depends on the stage of where your business is. Lean on your partner if you have one. Oftentimes, people who manage ads have additional insights, or they have more to offer than just deploying your ad spend, so you can lean on them to help you. And I would say it just depends. I know consumer goods. I don't really know other types of digital marketing, so I'll speak from consumer goods. If you're shipping something, it's honestly just making sure your margin is healthy enough to afford the investment in digital marketing. Because if your margin, heavy, cheap stuff is not a digital marketing, it's not a good strategy for distribution, right? And so you have to pay attention to your average ticket, your average size, and have a hypothesis and a theory, and then test it. So the most important thing, whether it's digital, like I'm on my smartphone, or someday I'm imagining something in a Neuralink and I'm off in some cyberspace, the thing that will never go away is return on invested capital. That's something that has stayed the same since Sears and Roebuck was dropping off houses off the railway station here in Kearney, Nebraska. There was still a calculation on return on invested capital, even though we used a railway. So the same thing is true when we're buying advertising space, that you just want to pay attention to how much am I spending, and then and you can afford to lose money on customers and build your following. It's just you have to know that you're losing money on it and not kid yourself that you are investing in acquiring customers, and my theory is that it's going to pay off at some point. So I guess I would just watch it and measure your return, and then look for ways to increase the return by increasing value to your consumer base, not by extracting value, but by adding value to your consumers, whether it's content or products, or I don't know, there's lots of ways of adding value, but that's what I would recommend.
Awesome, thank you. So that was my last formal question for this group. So I would like to open it up to everyone else out there. Do you have a question for anyone who is sitting up here on the stage right now? I'm looking for hands raised, and Janelle can come by with the microphone and, let you have that and ask your question out loud for everybody. Oh, yep, I think up here again, up the front.
Stepped on Wind Valley Foods. I'm sorry. Stepped on our food winner. Before we start a question, the people that are on the stage are three of my favoriteest people probably in the world. I've had the opportunity to work with them, and they've been really, really important to Grow Nebraska. And I don't know if they know that or not. I'm going to start with Steve from Dorothy Lynch. So when Grow Nebraska embarked and the board said, Janelle, you need to figure out how we can get Nebraska products out past Nebraska so we're actually creating sustainable incomes. Well, we all know when you struggle and create an e-com site, how do you get people to come to it? So I thought I had the most brilliant idea. I would run to Cashway and I would buy Dorothy Lynch. Why? Because I thought people would search Dorothy Lynch, and I'd use that as a lead product to get people on Buy Nebraska, and then hopefully they'd find other products. Well, one day I happened to be in the mall at our store. We were at Hilltop Mall at that point, and here comes in Steve. Hi, I'm at Dorothy Lynch. We don't have any comp site. Would you like to sell it? I was like, thank you, Jesus. And so Steve sits down and goes, we need to get an online strategy, and we want you to be our premier online seller. And I think by doing this, Janelle, not only is Dorothy Lynch, because it was a small company that's now large, we can also help these other businesses. And I said, you're exactly right. And so that's what we did. That's what we're doing. And if you go to Dorothy Lynch's site, when you purchase, you hit the purchase tab, it'll say buynebraska.com or it'll say Amazon. And you guys all met Wesley, who looks like Sheldon from the Big Bang Theory, doesn't he? Seriously, Sheldon, sorry, Wesley, you're something. But anyway, Wesley loves doing new product all the time and doing Amazon ads. Begs me to keep raising the budget. So from Steve, he says to me, Janelle, one of our successful things is we are this food blogger. I said, okay. And I'm thinking she's got to be from New York, Chicago. He goes, no, this girl's from Nebraska. And she's one of her, I want you to push out this great recipe. It's called Sloppy Joes with Dorothy Lynch.
Sloppy Dorothy.
Sloppy Dorothy. Okay, so, and so I went to Omaha and met this beautiful woman. I'm thinking, oh my God, here she is, a mother working from home, has created this whole network. And so, we developed friends, and she joined Grow Nebraska, and then she told me she was working at Garrett's Creek Steaks, did some recipes with that, and she's done Ely Farms, a number of our businesses. This has been a really good strategy. They just referred to Steve. Now, the one I've known the longest, and he might not admit it, is Andrew. Okay? Andrew called me. He probably doesn't even remember this conversation, because at that point he hadn't married his beautiful wife, Abby, that he met at Hastings College. He was a junior at Hastings College. He called me. He's like, I want to start a soap company. And I was like, oh my. At that point, Grow Nebraska was working with about 14 soap companies. I thought we had to be the cleanest state in the whole world. But Andrew was the first one that exposed me to something really, really important. He's like, my soap company's going to be different, John. I said, really? I'm a social venture model. He said, really? Yes. I have a social mission. For each bar of soap I sell, it's going to benefit a third world country. I'm going to teach people how to wash hands. And I said, you're going to do awesome. And that's exactly what he did. And if you look at his, we have some old slides in archive, and I need to ask him if I can ever get those out. But his first packaging was a cigar wrap that Abby created. Do we just have one child in, or do we have somebody else?
What's that?
Do you have one child still, or two?
We just had our second.
They just had their second. Woo! See, I missed that. Andrew, thanks for sharing. But anyway, so he's completely involved in Nice Papers. This particular company in Hastings, and Andrew wanted to be downtown Hastings. And Hastings had called me numerous times and said, Janelle, we put a store in Hastings. I don't know if you guys remember, and I don't want to offend anyone that's from Hastings, but downtown Hastings used to be kind of scary. Okay? Would you agree?
Yeah.
It was kind of scary. But Andrew, by God, he was down there. And it's because of that whole scenario, it's created kind of a whole new, energy, artisan. I don't know if you've been downtown Hastings now, but it's cool. There's boutiques and there's breweries. In fact, Tim Kinney, who used to run NIFA, told me years ago, He was originally from Austin. We stole him away. He's done some really good things in Nebraska, just recently retired. He kept showing me this deal that Austin had done. He goes, John, artisans are community builders. If you get your communities to get entrepreneur clusters, great things will happen. And that's what's happened in downtown Hastings. And so thank you, Andrew, for doing that. Andrew's lead horse was a soap called Dirty Hippie. And I use him all the time because lots of times when we deal with entrepreneurs, you guys are so creative and you have like 5,000 products. I said, no. What's your lead horse? We've got to have one product that we can really build a brand with. And that's what you did with Dirty Hippie. He had a Scooby-Doo van. Remember when it got hit one time? Yeah, I mean, see, we've been friends for a long time. So I'm going to let you ask questions, but I really want you to know this is, one of the great things about starting this program back in 1998 is I had the opportunity to see a lot of these companies come into some awesome things. Pacha Soap was Whole Foods Innovative Product of the Year in 2017. They are at every Whole Foods across the country. And when my daughter was interning for Congressman Smith, I've been never so proud. I'm a Foggy Bottom, and right there by the cash register was Pacha Soap. And I would take my picture by it every time. He had a couple of times, but we did it. So anyway, questions now. So I can, get started.
Anyway, I'm a native of Hastings, so I live in Hastings. I just want to go on the record by saying I'm proud to see what you've done in Hastings because, again, I remember going into the Pacha soap where it's at, where the original Pacha soap downtown, when it was Big G, and just taking the walk around on an interview when I looked back then, just seeing the process. And the one thing is, as an artist myself, your soap, every piece of soap that comes out of Pacha soap is unique, it's different, and it's art. And what you guys have done moving into the full bakery is phenomenal. So Hastings is really proud. So, thumbs up.
Thanks.
And he uses a Nebraska printer. I believe Marathon Press is your, so other questions? Oh, yes, great. Sorry, I can talk about these guys all day. She can shut me up.
Question for Michaela. So a company that doesn't have a product for sale, how do you go by website traffic? How do you judge your success, I guess? Is it social media engagement, traffic, subscribers to your newsletter?
So are you asking how I make my money or how, because,
Because you still make money. So if you're a company that doesn't make money, how do you judge your success on, I never know which one to value the most. Is it website traffic? Is it engagement? Is it subscribers?
It's everything, in all honesty. It's just all of it put together because not everybody is on Instagram. So if you might want to have a reader but they might be on Facebook and maybe they just want to get your newsletter. It's a little bit of everything. And but honestly, if you have a website, it all goes back to that. Everything funnels back into your site. So whether it's your newsletter and it's a link in that, or it's social media, it's all funneling back into your site. So I think it's most probably important, I guess, if I had to pick one thing to say to make that strong. And then once you can get the numbers and you get the traffic for that, if you're not making any money, you get with a really good ad network, and then you start seeing the dollars.
Nonprofit.
Well, you're a nonprofit, sorry. Well, so that would be, that's what I would say. Because I guess you just have to figure out where it all goes, and if it's your website would probably be the place where everything funnels. So I would say definitely start there and build out.
Thanks.
Questions from anybody else?
Question for Andrew. If you're distributing to all Whole Foods across country, how does your distribution system work to get it to all the stores?
We use a couple different methods of distribution. We use direct to store for part of our retailers, and some retailers we use distributors. So we ship to distribution warehouses, and then they break out into smaller units to stores. and then some retailers, we actually ship to their own distribution centers, which is the way that we prefer to do it. It's the most efficient. So we ship to warehouses, and then the company, the retailer themselves, breaks it down into smaller pieces and then distributes it to a store. But we do a fair amount now that's direct to store. So we do, fill up a UPS truck every day, and they take it away and put another one there. It's not the most efficient way to go about it, but we also like having a direct relationship and a direct connection to retail in that way. But yeah, just different distribution models. And then our e-commerce, we fulfill directly currently, but we're looking to actually outsource that to another Nebraska company. What I've found, I guess, here's another little thing I'd leave that I've had to learn the hard way, is don't try to do too much stuff. We've determined that we don't add much value by breaking bigger boxes down into smaller ones. We've found that there are people that are way better at that than we are, and so we're consistently trying to shed activities that don't add value to us, and instead of trying to do a lot of things. But yeah, our e-commerce we do it in-house, but we're looking to outsource that as well.
Great. Thanks.
You just mentioned one of the things that you learned from kind of stumbling there. Can each of you kind of share an example of something that you kind of stumbled on and learned from that might be beneficial for people here?
Oh, I've got so many that I don't know how much time we have, but I feel like I feel like I've failed quite a few times in lots of different areas. I'd say the biggest thing that I've learned is, back to the conversation piece, is not falling in love with your own ideas or what you think is right, but listening, because ultimately what capitalism is aligning of value. So, I think I have an idea or a product or service that has value, and so I'm going to really push that forward. Well, ultimately, the person that is departing their dollars for that service or product, they're going to be the ones to tell you. They vote, right? So I'd say the biggest mistakes I've made are which is good or bad. Like sometimes you have to have an idea because people don't know what they want, and we've done both, where you can lead and follow the consumer. But some of the biggest mistakes I've made is just not listening and not knowing even where to listen. To your point of like where what data are you looking at and what determines success? And I have many specific ones, but that's probably the thing that I've learned the most.
Yeah. Either of you have something you've stumbled on that you learned from?
I think we found out as growing from our core market and slowly growing out and building to secondary markets. Sometimes we'd, a few years ago, worked real hard of getting up into Michigan in that area, and it just took a lot of work and a financial commitment, and just the sales are slow. It was hard to get the ball rolling up there, so that was probably something we stumbled with the expense of trying to get into that market big. We've gotten into the market with up in that area with the Sam's Clubs and some Walmarts and that up there, but really just growing slow, methodical, and not too much at a time, and growing into an area with a partnership in our situation with a retailer, with growing with a group of stores that want to grow business with you, and that helps a lot because they've got experts how they go to market with their digital marketing and help you get positioning on the shelf and secondary displays and those type of things. So growing slow and steady in our situation.
I would have to echo what you said about just not trying to do everything. And, I was always that mom that was like, they wanted help with their science project, and I'd say, just let me do it, and so I wanted to do everything. And there's not enough hours in the day to do everything. So I would have to say surrounding yourself with good people, people that know those things that you struggle with. I mean, delegating was never a strong suit for me, but I've gotten really good at it. So I would say, just make, have a good circle of people that, you can feed ideas off of each other and that can help you out in ways that maybe, you're not good at. Me, bookkeeping. I'm terrible at bookkeeping, so I have somebody that helps me with that. Just different things like that. But I think that having a good small circle for me is even better. So that would be mine. You can't do it all, so you have to have help.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not seeing too many other questions, so I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up this panel. Thank you so much for coming up on stage and sharing with us. I really appreciate it. I'm sure all of they do. Can we just give them a round of applause? Thank you. And with that, we will transition into our last networking break of the day. So do not forget about those networking passports. Hopefully you're getting those filled out. We should have some people at the registration table who can take those passports from you once they're all filled out, and we'll give you an extra raffle ticket. And then the raffle will be a part of our closing remarks, so stay tuned for that. Meanwhile, please go and network to your heart's content for the next 30 minutes.